Everyone, welcome back to Casket Talk.
Try
Backwards. Welcome back to Play Casket with another episode of Casket Talk. We're trying to get this back up and going. Actually, I think we're doing pretty well with that, so we're doing good. But this week, in this episode, we're going to talk about something that's kind of more of a hot button topic that I think there's a huge iceberg on. And we're going to go ahead and talk about it is video game consulting, or basically media consulting firms.
It stinks. Episode 60, Sweet Baby Dirty Diapers.
So, as the name implies, this kind of started off with Sweet Baby Inc., which is a very well-known, basically a well-known video game consulting firm that kind of got themselves in a lot of hot water, well-deserved hot water, for basically bragging about doing whatever influences they can to video games and thinking they're hot shit, basically. And,
ESG bullies, basically.
Yeah, and they're basically, like a lot of these consulting firms are basically that, right? And we did some research, and this goes down deeper than just Sweet Baby. And before we get to that, we gotta kind of like air out, let people know what consulting firms are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Basically, consulting firms, it's kind of like a middleman for a lot of marketing teams. Well, there are no marketing teams anymore, but just major companies, when they're developing stuff, they now reach out to consulting firms who, as a self-proclaimed benefactor, they do the marketing, they do the research, they recognize the trends, they do all the weird stuff, supposedly, and report it to them. And not just video games. When companies get big, when industries get bigger and bigger and bigger, they try to cut out as much as their own personal weight and hire external forces out there. I've been part of that when I was a younger kid. In my youth, I did a lot of, we called it, it was called retail auditing, right? I was hired by other companies. They hired the company I worked for to go to retail stores to make sure all of their stuff is out the way they need to. There would be new releases, be new signage, be new type of demos and all that, and we would either help them put them up, or we do audits saying they will not put them up, or they will refuse to for various other reasons and stuff like that, and it goes through the whole situation. Basically, other companies pay me to do that type of thing, and it kind of works a similar way where they pay consulting firms to do the so-called marketing, the research and stuff like that, and then they get feedback from that. The problem with consulting firms is they basically can make shit up, right?
Yeah.
So we have seen that, and we've mentioned it, we've championed it, we've called it out multiple times before, and nobody really would hear that crap. Like, hey, something's going on, you know? Like, you've probably had your favorite game, like, wait a minute, this is weird. What the hell's going on in this? You know, like, it doesn't seem on brand for this developer or this publisher or whatever, you know?
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, dude, that's a very recent one. Like, people were praising it, like, oh my god, she's in a bikini, we're so glad that this is happening. And then literally the day after they show that, they patch in the previous game with a undershirt and reduce the breast size, from what I heard.
Well, so, from one of my friends, he says that, to be fair, it's more that they're trying to be more consistent. So if Tifa looks like that, they want her to look more the same in the other ones too. So I'm like, sure, but it's still really. Well, let's put it this way:
in a way, you could say it basically their first adherence to that new role, ruins the future games as far as the design philosophy.
Yeah, because it's like,
because now you're gonna have to adhere to it regardless of what you do, because then it will be inconsistent. And even if the inconsistency was for the better, fundamentally your subconscious goes, this isn't familiar, even though it is the same character, and you lose interest in it faster.
Well, it's like what is it? It's like seeing the burger on the menu. You're like, oh wow, it comes with an egg, and then you get the burger and there's no egg.
Yeah, and like the burger could still be good. It's just like, well, I don't want that. I wanted the egg. You know,
why did you show me it with the egg, then, you idiots? Like,
Yeah.
So that's one thing that really pissed me off about it, because they could have at least showed her the way she was supposed to be. If anything, supposedly it's just the English version, but I highly doubt it.
I think it's going to be worldwide.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's just the first one to get the patch.
Well, it makes me kind of curious too that maybe they're trying to hide it, because from what I heard too, ever since they released that Final Fantasy and everybody praised it up, that weird ESG stuff and Sweet Baby Inc. stuff disappeared off their website for like who they're hiring and what they're using. But it comes back again with Tifa being censored. So it's like, well, they probably didn't get rid of them. They just kind of made sure that nobody knows that they hired them.
The contract changed.
Yeah.
Or something. Or maybe they got rid of Sweet Baby and hired another one of these consulting firms. Because honestly, when you start looking through the surface, a lot of people keep thinking Sweet Baby is kind of like the de facto monster. But honestly, when you peel back the veil, they're just the first one to get out of the corral.
Yeah.
Like, they stepped out of line, so they got caught.
Yeah.
Basically. But there's a lot. Like, when we did a search, there's close to 20 video game themed consulting firms. And most of them are in the same area as far as location as Sweet Baby. So that means that there's more than just Sweet Baby Inc. that is out there doing the same thing Sweet Baby Inc. is now caught guilty of. And that's the problem that's going to happen is even though Sweet Baby Inc. might just get quote-unquote bought up, there's other places like IDG, there's the cooperative expertise, and there's a variety of other ones out there, game launch experts, tech systems. I had to pull it up for a moment there.
No, that's fine.
Gaming consultant Bain and Company, Game Biz Consulting. Like, there is a huge Rocket Ride Games. Like, these are all agencies and stuff that could easily be doing the same thing Sweet Baby is guilty of.
No one's censoring your games.
We're just changing it before you need to get it censored.
Huh.
Exactly my point, right? Even though technically, like when I say that, before, if it gets changed before we see it, it's not censorship.
Yeah. Well, it's more like
it is still changed.
It's a toned down versus.
Yeah, it could easily be toned down and stuff, and because of that, like we don't. The thing is, when they change it before that we see it, and you're like, that's a little suspicious. Why is that toned down? We look like the fools because like, that was the way it always was intended. It was just like. But if there was evidence of something and then they changed it, we always have like feedback from that.
Yeah.
But now that there's more things, and because of Sweet Baby, we're able to kind of start digging into a lot of these consulting firms. And these consulting firms are probably doing the same shit across the board. And you dig even deeper, like you start seeing stuff even further back. There's even places where Feminist Frequency is a consulting firm, apparently. So, Anita Sarkeesian, the blowhard, the fake gamer, the one that tried to ruin gaming by blaming men because apparently she can't get any. She was also one of those people who was consulting games and led to Mass Effect Andromeda, which she was saying it was one of the greater games. Why? Because she was involved in it, but they were consulting her. What would make it more away from the male gaze or whatever nonsense she was gonna pull out of her butt then, you know? Like, going through this, there's a lot more of these consulting firms, and they started growing since like 2014. Around the time a lot of this weird Gamergate nonsense started coming up. So it makes you wonder why are these consulting firms coming up, right?
Well, because like
we had the moment of pause so we could just think about it. Or we
one thing was that like it just brings me back to like they want compliance out of you too, because if how do I put it? Basically, if you don't put any of their weird stuff, or because like if you agree with them, if you agree with them, it gives them a foot. It gives them a chance leverage and a chance to put their foot in through the door. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh well, he said this, so let's sell our shitty courses to them. But if you are absolutely just on your own and you're a huge success, they get so mad.
They get mad because, and the thing is, I've noticed with consulting firms, period, just in general, this isn't even happening in just video games.
Oh, and then sorry.
Yeah.
But that also goes with I just remembered too. That's also how you get hit pieces against you, because if you don't say their message and that you don't buy their courses, they'll get their friends in these gaming journalist sites to write hit pieces on you. What was that one cat game? This one right here. This one right here. Stray. There we go. Yeah, Stray.
Yes.
Stray had absolutely no. They didn't announce anything or anything political. They're just kind of like,
here's a game with a cat.
Cat, yeah. And they were like, oh, do you have anything political to say? Basically, are you one of us? They said no. And then all these hit pieces came out against them.
If you peel back the thing, you'll see some wild far-right notes in it. And it's like, you see far-right notes in everything anyway.
Yeah, so
it's like,
if they get nervous and they get they'll get a backlash, they'll freak out and they'll go to like a consulting firm, and then they have to hire them. So it's basically blackmail. Elden Ring 2 was hugely successful. No messages. They just wanted to make a good game, and then all these stupid hit pieces came up against them. What else? Witcher 3. Witcher 3 got hit pretty hard too.
I think one of the reasons with Witcher 3 is they hit it pretty hard because they from what I heard, they approached them with consulting firms. It's like, we can adjust it so your game can reach a better audience.
Yeah.
A better audience. That's always like a big buzzword. It's like, oh, no. Who cares if it's smaller? It's better. What is it better about? Like, your main goal is to sell as many copies as possible to people who enjoy your stuff. Making it better and appealing to just 3 people doesn't make your business any better. In fact, it tanks your business. And the thing is, what's funny is when it tanks, the consulting firm is washed the hands of it. Like, oh, I guess they were just really bad at their business.
Yeah.
And they carry on to do it again.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, when you peel back with the consulting firms, people who get hired on consulting firms, regardless of the media, are people who think they know better about the entire industry than any person who studied marketing, game design, game art, style, running a business or anything like that. These guys don't even run the consulting firm. They just get hired on said consulting firm to basically get paid to say, here's what you should do as a multi-billion-dollar company because I, myself, am smart and you are not. And that's literally, I think, what's happening here is it isn't literally like Sega and Square and Capcom and EA and Activision, and yes, I'm also saying Activision and EA and stuff. I don't think they fundamentally are on this huge progressive kick. They just are being told the progressive kick is where it's gonna grow the most.
Yeah.
You just hang tight. And when we got the ESG, DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion systems in place, if you invested in it and you appealed to it, you got these ESG scores, which then gave you bonus money, which meant, oh, I can save money by paying this consulting firm, appealing to the points that they want, get the kickback from it, and then I could just advertise my game and sell it from there with minimized risk. But the game tanks every time.
Yep.
So the risk was even greater, but they're being told, because they go to these consulting firms, that no, going this way will be better because in the long run, after 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to be appealing to the largest, most progressive group that just loves buying games. They're told that repeatedly, and it's being shown that it's not.
How come a goblin and a ghost recording a podcast know way more than these CEOs?
Because I feel like it's because we're on the ground floor. Like, think about it. Like, when you talk about people who are in, like, retail and shit, like, they know how their store's working. If you go up just literally 2 positions above store manager, where they don't run a store, they run series of stores, they only see the numbers from that store.
Okay.
They don't see why that number is that number, because they don't see that. They're told to look for the numbers because they got other things that they have multiple stores to run through. So distilling it to just pure numbers allows them to just react to what they need to get done. But they don't understand why that particular store is not doing those numbers.
Gotcha.
Right? And when you look at it from that way, 2 more positions up above him, they won't know why he's doing that thing for that one thing that's not showing the numbers the way that thing one needs to be. Like, as it goes up, it gets more and more vague and blurry and distant and faded that it's really hard to tell.
Man. Well, it's time to retrain your CEOs. Holy shit.
Yeah, like, honestly, I think, honestly, every 6 months, they should spend about 2 weeks on a ground floor of some department of their business.
Yeah.
I do think that would really benefit a lot of these CEOs doing this shit. Honestly, like, I think it might not get us the results we want. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But I think it'll be better results than what we're getting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I went through a rabbit hole with this one, man. Like, seriously, I was like blowing my mind with this. Like, it's not just video games. I think the only reason that I think it's so amazing is that video games is like the last bastion of just fuck you type people.
Yeah.
There's people who have like, oh, you know what? There's people who consult, like, there's record labels who consult these firms, and they're like, you know what? More rap about sex and pussy would actually really generate a lot more revenue and excitement among female listeners. Are you sure? Absolutely. Look at our mock reviews we completely make up about how much they wish they feel a part of it by talking about the women's private parts. Like, it's gross.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for most people, like, why are we talking about this? But then you have a lot of these people who are now like, well, we're told that it's one of the best things written ever outside the Bible because it was so great because it talked about the woman's vagina being wet. Like, that's not how that fundamentally works, you know? And because of that, it goes beyond just the music too. Anime, even translations for anime. Like, if the Japanese person might make a small anime that becomes a wild hit, that then, like, the national world would like to expand on it, right? The translations might actually get a change because the translation companies consult these stupid ass firms.
Yep.
And it's literally like, and I think I'm not saying like we found the most corest of evil. I do think the laziness and the
nepotism,
reliance, and the nepotism of finding ways to just lower your own risk, because most companies now, most video game companies, most animation companies, stuff like that, they don't have marketing teams.
Yeah.
They don't have internal marketing teams. They got rid of those, and they're using social media, and they're paying consulting firms to do any extended research. And a lot of these ones are literally hired by the same type of groups of people with the same mentality of, I think I know better. And a lot of the people who think they know better than most of the world, they literally think they're the smartest people, like they cracked the code, are progressive minded. A lot of the people are woke ass shit that thinks they know better than anyone else, and they mock people all the time, and that's exactly the pattern you see with stuff like Sweet Baby. You know?
Yeah.
And on top of that, when you look at that, you go down, like, DEI is almost like the driving factor for these consulting firms. I'm almost willing to bet that the DEI and the ESG type of system is literally invested in all consulting firms, because then it promotes that whole system without them having to get extra points, even when the ESG has been being closed down in multiple areas. So they're like, fine, we'll use the consulting firms to get our agenda and our word and our worldview out in video games, the way video games need to be displayed. That is exactly what's happening right now. And I think it's a major driving factor. I don't think it's the only driving factor. I think it's a major driving factor of what's going on. That's why I think when people are saying that a lot of companies like Square Enix and stuff are pulling money and pulling funding out of DEI, it's not the end of this shark. It's literally going to still be pretty prevalent for a while until we start seeing consulting firms collapsing on themselves because nobody's investing in them anymore.
Even then, though, too, you still got to be careful about the people that you hire because.
Oh yeah, you'll still have those people regardless. And I still think people's, discourse is good because we could still have ideas that makes you ponder progressive ideas. Allowing you to think of progressive ideas is very smart, and in doing so, allows people to kind of at least see your perspective without chewing down their throat or monologuing to them to death.
Yeah. Well, even then, though, too, it wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so fucking terrible.
Insufferable as shit, too.
Because anytime anybody talks, it always has to be looks at camera, and then they spout expository dialogue, and then they continue, and you're like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah. Well, you even see stuff like Joker, right? They just had a release of one of the comic strips with Joker in it in Batman, and he basically looks at the reader basically and says, I'm a fucking American. I hate Nazis. I'm a murderous maniac or something like that.
But at least I'm not a traitor.
But I'm not a traitorous bigot.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god.
I'm like, you're making Joker say that? That tells you relate to the need to kill people in Joker, but you don't want him to feel you don't want him to be chaotic like that. No. I understand the way Joker wants to hurt people, but I don't want him to really hate people for the wrong reasons. That's pretty dark, But there's these consulting firms who probably tell these people, you know what? If you actually write it a little bit more like that, it will actually resonate with more readers. In fact, a lot of readers nowadays will actually praise you for such a writing, and they go with it because that's the only thing they know because they don't have their own boots on the ground asking these questions and surveying and stuff like that either.
Well, one thing is that I wonder what they get told because from what I heard too, the artists don't really get the final say on the design because they do get to make them look really cute or really pretty, and then the consultant will be like, oh well, a certain group will get mad, so you make her uglier, and you're like, what the fuck are these people talking about? And
that style on that person, that's way too early 2000s. Nobody really plays those games from that era anymore. We are now evolving past that, and we need to approach the new era of video game where everyone feels welcome in your society. And when you have a game that feels welcoming, more people will be welcome to buy your game.
And then
That's literally the angle.
Yeah, and you're 5 years into the project, and you're like, shit, I don't want to quit right now. So
yeah,
all right, I guess we'll do it.
Yeah. And it's and there's probably even if all the consulting firms died tomorrow, we'll probably still have easily 2, 4, maybe 6 years of this stuff because
I say 10.
Probably easily.
I say 10.
Easy. That could easily happen, dude. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm saying all consulting firms just die out.
Yeah.
But easy 10 years. If people are getting caught on and they're trying to change course, it'll easily be 10 years, if not more.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if all the consulting firms just died out tomorrow,
yeah,
we would probably still see easy 6 years, 6 years of just this tripe, just all of it, right?
Just
this weird monologuing, self-shaming, how dare you play this game if you feel this way about this game type of attitude.
Yeah.
And
no, it's not just on us. We were right. We were right this entire fucking time.
The thing is, I don't think we understood why we were right. We just knew that something was amiss.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, this doesn't seem right. And we kept getting mocked.
And then you got the gaslighters.
We had the gaslighters. We had
the liars.
The liars, the public assassinators and stuff like that.
And even now, they're still lying about it and trying to do damage control.
Oh, yeah. Dude, well, I'm pretty sure a lot of the consulting firms are on notice right now. Simply because of Sweet Baby. And the whole reason why I even named this Casket Talk the way we did is Sweet Baby Inc.'s biggest fuck up was literally thinking that they were becoming untouchable because they've touched 5 major franchises in a span of 3 years. And then they proceeded to mock consumers who are like, this is garbage. And You don't know better than we because we made it change. So
Cancel it,
obviously
yeah.
we're better than you. If you were actually the consumer that we need to worry about, you would have been able to do it yourself.
Take his job, dox
You
his
know?
family. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, no, they taunted people, and then after that taunting, people started looking and peeling back and like, I don't like this game either, and they're involved in it. I don't like that game either. They're in a lot of these games I don't like anymore.
Yeah.
Huh. And then eventually somebody's like, I'm just going to make a list of games to basically avoid. But I'm just going to make a list. They can avoid which ones they want to make, and I call it a day. And he made one. It's a Brazilian guy. I don't think he thought it all the way through like that, but he was basically, it's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, please avoid these games. Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
But he just makes a Steam list, and then people started using it. And because people started using it, Sweet Baby went on an offense. And I mean, not just like a, let's kind of monologue this and shame this person. There was an outright, almost immediate harassment campaign. Dox him. Ban his account. Ban his Twitter account. Ban all of his games. Find his Epic Game account. Get that rid of. Like, they were trying to go after every aspect of him so he had no games. Right? Which basically tells me physical games should still be around. You know, like, that just tells me another situation right there. But that's another topic for another day. But, like, it was almost immediate to just assault him. And when you look back at it, and you look at it real good, it's because it consolidates all the list. A list in which they themselves had on their website.
That they were so proud of.
Is because you can click on every one of those games on his list, and you can see the review count and how bad those games are going. It was like an immediate gratification. Oh, how good is Mortal Kombat 1 doing? Oh, well, how good is this Forspoken doing? Oh, and because of that, that became a big threat to the credibility to Sweet Baby. That's why they decided to do it that way. Because if they listed it on themselves, they're like, oh yeah, we covered all these games. It's all big name games. So you're like, oh yeah, they're on Mortal Kombat. So of course they got to be good. They were allowed on Mortal Kombat. Then you don't, instead of going, they were on Mortal Kombat, click, oh, that one's poorly received. You know, because of that, that's the threat. They don't really care if the consumer sees them as monsters. In fact, they would love it. They would mock you. They would love to ruin your stuff because they think they know better about what you enjoy than you yourself.
Even then, though, too, it's like, if people really, really wanted this, wouldn't they be glad that, they're people really, really want this ESG shit? Look, they're consulting a list of ESG games. Our sales should go up, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They keep saying, invest in us, invest in this progressive attitude, invest in ESG, and you will see returns. They're basically trying to say the old guard is dead. Abandon it. We are the new guard now. Please obey us. That's basically it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's literally hiring people who think they know better about your game than you do. And they go, no. Like, if I made an original game, right? Let's say I made a game about a goblin and a ghost that's actually a collectathon, kind of like Banjo-Kazooie, right? Tell them, and basically, it's them saying, no. What you need to do is get rid of the ghost and goblin and add a girl who can transform into a man at will, and then tell people that they fight Nazis, because that's what the real world wants. That's basically them telling me what I need to do with my video game.
Yeah.
That's literally what the consulting firm's about. And then they'll write mock reviews like, look, if you had a content like this is the type of review you would see. Wow, I have never been so included in my life. It made me feel really strong in a world that I feel so neglected in. 10 out of 5 stars. Will play repeatedly. Doing it now. Like, it's literally like that. It's basically that. They have connections with each other. So when somebody's writing the mock review, even though it's supposed to be blind, they already know what to write.
And if you think it's shit, you're probably right, because all these people are fake as shit.
Yep.
Don't forget the bots. HBO even admitted it.
Well,
and it's industry standard.
Yeah, and you think that, like, these honestly, because we know that happens.
Uh-huh.
We know reports of streaming is bloated.
Yeah.
We know player count numbers can be bloated.
Yeah.
Who's to say that several of those hell, Disney cooked the books on Disneyland attendance being through the roof, and then they found out that next to no one was going there the last 4 or 5 years. Let's be real here. There's a lot of companies who are doing this stuff. I wouldn't put it past them that these consulting firms might have an ability to bloat numbers to show, see, you have this many numbers for Mortal Kombat because of us. That's the type of attitude I could see them actually pulling.
Well, if anything, they probably, unless they skew the data to where it's like, look, your next one's going to sell this much.
Yeah.
And imagine if it sells that much for the next 12 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those promises of gold that doesn't even exist. All of it's just painted eggs.
Yeah.
And then they start to rot after you have them in your hoard for a while. Wonder what's happening. Oh, they're not actually golden eggs, And I think the thing Sweet Baby is literally kind of their mess up. Put all the other consulting firms basically on notice.
Good,
because I generally do not think Sweet Baby is going to kill DEI. I don't think it's going to put any other consulting firms in any hot water. But this brings up the fact of how many consulting firms are doing this type of crap. And there's several that are literally across the street or down the street a couple blocks from where Sweet Baby is. So we can't just pretend, we slayed the monster. This Hydra already has many, many heads.
Yeah.
And you need to kill and cauterize every single one of them. But I think because Sweet Baby has brought enough attention to consulting firms, people are going to start looking at consulting firms. Because I do think this isn't just... I don't think it's just this is the core crux of the problem. If we get rid of this, it would be great. This would be great progress to going back to way games used to be, which is fun.
Back to
innovative.
Back to Japan, away from Westerners.
Well, I'm even talking about Westerners might actually benefit from this stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to play another Fable game that actually plays like Fable 2, which was the best Fable, by the way.
Oh, yeah, the new Fable is also done by Sweet Baby.
Yep. Yeah.
Remember that creature that they revealed?
That thing that looks like a used catcher's mitt? Yeah, that thing. I was like, oh, that thing's human.
The absolute disdain for the female form. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude. There's so many people who would rather relate to Goku than some slobby short green man like I am. Dude. The WoW goblins look hot in comparison to me. Let's be real here. But I play them. I don't know. I need somebody who looks like me, who's a little more frail, who's a little this. I don't need that.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy. Let me be able to be the fantasy.
Yeah.
Not like women who are I like to, there's a lot of women and tons of women who love playing beautiful women who are powerful in games. But then there's these consulting firms no, you need to relate to catcher's mitts. You need to relate you just drug your face through the dirt for 20 years. And then we're going to go ahead and shame anybody that thinks otherwise, that's not true beauty.
I'm starting to think of that meme where it's I'd like to buy this game. She's not interested in being bought. Yeah.
Yeah. That's basically what it is, dude. It's basically what it is. But it really all this really means we're going to start catching on to a lot of patterns now. I think Sweet Baby just revealed something really, really toxic underneath the game industry, especially the AAA industry too.
Yeah.
And you got to think a lot of this purging and layoffs everywhere. I don't think it's just we're all hard workers. I do think there's a lot of fat that's being trimmed too.
Yeah.
I can't feel sorry because there's going to be people working on Overwatch 2 was my whole life. All right, then you're 22 and you have the whole life ahead of you. Get another job, dude. Seriously. You all mocked coal miners for losing their jobs. Learn the code. And then when people use that on journalists, like, oh, that's a right-wing dog whistle. Like, that's the type of nonsense that you are trying to tell me I'm supposed to pity now? No. You have all these other places. Start working with indies. In fact, indies will probably be around if this whole industry fully collapses like people are anticipating. Work with an indie. Save your career. Or find a different career, because obviously you feel like working on Blizzard's only game that's garbage is your de facto saving grace. If that is your de facto saving grace, then find a completely different industry.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most embarrassing thing. Imagine being somebody who worked on one game and thinking, oh, that was my whole dream, is to be able to work on this. And now that I can't, I'm so heartbroken. Find another game then. Find another project. Find another indie studio. Find somebody and work there. Don't sit there and just complain on Twitter. Find somebody. Because if that's the only thing you feel like that's the only thing you can do in video games, then leave video games. Like, sweet, that's it. You know, that's it. Just fucking do it. You know, but I think people are going to start finding patterns. It's like, oh, it's not just Sweet Baby. It's a lot of people. And then people will probably start reaching out. Like, they're like, hey, here's this new awesome game that Square Enix and Capcom teamed together out to make.
Who are your writers?
Like,
who are your consulting
they're like, who's your consulting team? It'll be probably like the first most upvoted like Twitter post is, who's your consulting team? Like, you know exactly it's going to happen, and I can't wait for that type of sitch. Is there any other opinions that you want on this? I'm sorry, I probably I went down the rabbit hole, dude. I was like one of those like conspiracy theorists, like just attached. I'm like, damn, this thing is deep, bro.
Well, it's just, we were right about everything, and like, it's so freaking annoying that they would just gaslight us and lie.
It sucks that we feel vindicated.
Yeah.
But also that didn't correct the thing that we're having problems with.
Yeah.
You know, like, I would be happy being vindicated. I'd happily be wrong if that meant the gaming industry got better.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't mind if we turned into the most worst people to even listen to, if that meant the gaming industry got better by it.
Yeah.
You know?
Then we wouldn't need to be here.
But we're right, and the game industry is still crap.
Yeah.
We're vindicated, but for what? You know? Like, I think that's another problem, is a lot of people feel like they're just like, it doesn't change, so that they give up. You know? And then these consulting firms can just trample on everything.
Well, let people know. That's like...
Yeah, dude, straight up. Honestly, I think that's what's happening right now, is that a lot of people are going to be like, so who's your consulting firm?
Yeah.
And like, I can't wait for some of the interviews on people like, so what does Capcom consult to? You know, can't wait. But it's gonna be a pretty heavy one. Sorry for the whole rabbit hole thing. Like, I do those rants, but I think me doing the information, I think, was pretty important. So I did do that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you guys. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up there. I do think there's going to be much more coming out on this stuff beyond Sweet Baby in the years to come. Not just now, not just in a couple weeks, but I think it's going to be like a multi-year type of like unfolding of absolute garbage. But, you know, let's all hang tight on that and see if it dies. And if not, just play your favorite indie games, because they're going to still be around.
Yeah, keep fighting. Don't worry about the AAA studios, right?
Yeah, it's all about the games, not about the names. So I would like to thank you all for hanging tight and listening to this whole rabbit hole deal and breakdown and stuff. If you like our content, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And as always,
we will see you on the other side.
Hey everyone, this is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.